You've tuned into the Bellingham Podcast for the week of January 27, 2019. This is a caffeinated 108. From that hyped up city by the Salish Sea, I am AJ Barce.
And just loving life in 98226, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, Henry David Thoreau once said, "Goodness is the only investment that never fails." Warren Buffett once said, "Ultimately, there's one investment that supersedes all others. Invest in yourself." AJ and I say, when you invest in yourself, you'll never feel bankrupt. We'll be talking about ways to contribute in various ways to your internal savings account. Hopefully, you'll find a solid return on investment by joining us right now on the Bellingham Podcast.
And at the bell, the ticker closed up today on the Bellingham Podcast. How you doing, Chris?
Wonderful, thank you. It's good to be once again on the stick for, oh my goodness, 108 episodes.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful thing. I mean, it's not a round number, even though it can be divisible by 2. But it's just so nice. It's like this thing continues to go on.
Yeah.
How about yourself? What's going on for you?
Just looking. We're recording early morning as opposed to late afternoon. So I'm on a very caffeinated note, as you can tell.
So I'm going to be tripping over your sentences and you'll be tripping over mine then.
I might have to make sure in post I slow myself down because I get a little bit excited and chipmunky when I have this much caffeine in the morning.
We are rather entertaining on 1.3x. Should you have a podcast app that enables that? Yes.
Funny. So my wife listens to a lot of podcasts on like 1.5x. She cannot do it for me sometimes. She's just like, honey, when you need to slow down a little bit when you record with Chris. Why? Because you sound like a hyped up chipmunk. So anyway, sorry,
Would
honey.
you be Theodore or Simon?
Oh, I'm Alvin all the way, man.
Naturally.
Like
all right,
Alvin. Anyway.
All right,
so,
we're going to talk about investing in ourselves in a lot of ways.
I really like this. This is a topic that actually you've been kind of building up towards. I like this where this episode's going because this is very much a goodness and Bellingham in a Bellingham state of mind type of thing.
Yeah, the state of mind needs to get better. We all have to do better with our frames of mind because look at the season that we're in right now. Yeah. Gloomy, gray, drizzly at times,
and now
windy.
It's getting bitterly cold.
Yeah, it's
winter
came
late.
Yeah, February's around the corner, and it's got a backhand.
Jack Frost has woken up and reminded us.
Yeah, he's a little bit angry. So, AJ, as far as ways that you are able to invest in yourself. Now, we have jobs that we can save for retirement.
Yeah.
We have investment vehicles financially, but there's more to investing than just money.
Yes.
As I said in the hook.
Yes.
So what are some ways that you either invest in yourself with your mind, with your emotions, with your spiritual side, if so, or your physical side?
Yeah. So leading into this, like the first thing I wanted to say at the top of the show that I think a lot of people, and I think we're seeing a trend start to develop. I think a lot of people have started to realize that, that whole social media thing, I like to share with friends and family and it's a good mechanism, but it's just not worth it. And I kind of want to propagate that a little bit more because for some listeners, maybe some folks have realized that my Twitter account has gone private for 2 reasons. One, I would have shut down my Twitter account, but because I have been on the platform for so long, there is a tendency for bots to take over long-standing Twitter accounts and then reactivate them, and I didn't want a bot taken over account. So for me, I have signed off of Twitter. I'm gone. Adios. Good riddance. Nice knowing you. Facebook, I've been like that forever. So, I mean, my Facebook account's basically for the show and for some photography, and that's it. Instagram. So the impetus of me mentioning this is obviously being a photographer. Instagram is a platform for photographers or anybody to really put out photos and get a lot of reach. That's this big word that a lot of advertising platforms want to know, like, what is your reach? Influencers come out of this, right? Well, about 3 years ago, which is when I started my Patreon, I would be putting out a lot of content because I was driving people towards Patreon and getting more of my photography out there. And I would have several thousand, tens of thousands of views on my Instagram.
That's awesome, by the way.
Yeah. And then two years ago, I saw a little bit of a decline. And then last year, a real big decline. And it's largely due to, shameless plug, where I was building up for the Analog Explorer, where for me, my photography, my creativity isn't about the quantity. I don't really care about how much I put out and how much thumbs up or hearts I get in return. To me, it's about the creative process and making something that I'm really proud of, that one shot, that every moment has a story. Like, I've never been one about quantity. And, social media their business model isn't around that. And so for me, like looking at the goodness, self-investing in myself, there's less time in social media that I'm putting towards. And that's going to continue to be my trend for 2019. I mean, there are some caveats. Obviously, we have the show and we have listeners. And so like there are avenues that I still use. Instagram basically is the open portal for the show for us.
There's nothing wrong with picking and choosing where you decide to invest your time.
Exactly.
Get it? Invest your time.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
And, dedicating time can be a liability in your day.
Yeah.
If you're spending X amount of minutes, hours on these areas, if you focus your attention, you're saving sanity. In some ways, and time to do other things that are important.
And I think that's what I would encourage a lot of people to look at is instead of, because for the longest time, social media for content creators has been, you wanted to diversify, that we have different platforms to have X amount of reach, right? And I would say flip it on its head and look at it more from a forum perspective. Like back in the days when we had, and there still are forums, I see Instagram as a way for me to connect with certain communities that I am investing in. One is our listeners.
Listeners.
Shout out to everybody who uses the hashtag Bham podcast
Indeed.
On Instagram. Thank you so much for listening to the show. So I see that as an investment because it's a way for us to, like our listener questions last week, literally spur of the moment, a couple hours before we record, and we had some awesome questions.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So like I see that as an investment. I see it as a way to put out photos as I create them and the stories around them. And that's it. Like everything else, I'd rather go play cards with my son. That's more of an investment of my time.
Yes. And you definitely, as I've gotten to know you over 6 years now, that you have matured some.
Oh, thank you.
Having your little one has helped matters out. Having a wife has helped some.
Hi, Withy.
As I would also attest in my life that I'll get to in a little bit. But things change.
Yeah.
And as time progresses, the awe-inspiring wonder of all these people connected and forming relationships and virtual friendships around the world. Well, that may have a season. And as you were talking about your Twitter, how you are making a decision with your Twitter account, which I call defensive technology. You're not letting the bots take over.
Yeah.
I see a page turning, and here's a little bit of a clean slate. It may have a little bit of an Instagram logo on it, but otherwise, you're kind of getting into a new season of how you were approaching how you're interfacing online. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I would say that's a wise investment.
It is a wise investment. And it forces people, myself, but it forces people to realize, especially on Instagram, and I've mentioned this even in my manifesto for the Analog Explorer, is, instead of the focus being on taking that awesome photo that we've all seen on Pinterest or on Instagram when you travel or whatever, and then spending more time hashtagging it than appreciating where you are, you're focusing on the where you are. You're doing stuff as opposed to spending more time doing stuff for the sake of facade.
I gotcha.
Anyway, so that's my one take on this whole thing, because out of the rest of the show that we're going to talk about, it's about doing stuff, doing things, or being, finding some hygge.
Yes, exactly. And I have 4 areas. As I was thinking about, how are pragmatic, practical ways that I can invest in myself in 2019, just in this, and plus I'm also in my mid-40s, so I'm in a different place than when I got married. I'm in a different place than when I was in my angry 20s decade, and so on. So the top one, and this has nothing to do with the resolutioners out there.
Yeah.
But for many years, and since we've started this podcast, I've had this little thing inside of me that there hasn't been the burning drive to stop at all costs to get into the gym, to do one of those workouts where you're, train and say your prayers, eating your vitamins, brother.
Yeah.
It's just something that I had done when time had permitted to be able to just get a sweat. And I really enjoyed that time before marriage, when I didn't have a beautiful wife and a beautiful daughter and a psychotic puppy, now dog, to be able to take care of, and whose obligations matter to me. It was all about me. I started this year, in December really, but I've actually made it 3 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, 3 weeks in a row as of today, because I got my clothes in my bag.
Good.
3 times a week for the past 3 weeks, I have stepped foot in the friggin' gym. and I've actually changed clothes and done the workout.
Awesome, dude.
And so, for a lot of you out there, exercise is life. This is a big thing. It's just a second nature thing. But when you have so many irons in the fire and you have so many obligations and so many hobbies and areas of content creation or activities.
Of doing.
I found of doing the physical exercise has fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
And that season is something that I'm taking back. How am I taking back? It's kind of a mental investment that I'm making for myself, where Sunday afternoon or evening, it's kind of like a time that I have reflection. Okay, well, that was hopefully a good weekend, Sunday evening. And then I look at my calendar, and yes, I still use Fantastical on Mac desktop and iOS to view my upcoming week at a glance. It's got a nice grid layout, and I could see in the agenda what obligations have already been placed there ahead of time. For the week ahead, I will mark a gym workout after work. 4:30 to 5:30, boom. And I have to view my gym workouts as sacrosanct. Now, some people may use a term called sacred. That's more of a spiritual term. Sacrosanct means you can't touch this. And I put myself first in this case. And if there was something that if I was in a bowling league, that really mattered to me as much as that I would be putting the bowling league nights on that time slot, and nothing shall change or trump that one off of the schedule.
Right.
So that's something to plan so that in the week coming ahead, all right, I got 3 slots that are for the gym. Cool. All the other places, if I have something coming up, find another thing to do. Also, is a bit of an internal and actually financial, internal meaning dietary investment. So my wife and I will go shopping at one of the grocery stores around Bellingham on the weekends with the rest of Whatcom County. We do our food shopping on the weekend, and we have gotten into this little routine, as we talked about earlier, a routine of meal prep Sunday.
Nice.
And so what happens is, one, it's like a date. So, hey, single guys out there who've never been married.
All the single gentlemen.
Yeah.
All the single gentlemen. All the single gentlemen.
You really had to go there, huh?
I tried.
All right.
Just
let me get back on track here.
Okay.
All right. Single guys out there, you're thinking about date nights with your gal that has this Instagrammable quality, and I'm going to throw Instagram under the bus in this case. Sometimes in married life, when you've had a number of years, a date activity can be going to the grocery store together. Remember that episode on Friends from the 90s where Ross and Rachel went to the grocery store? That was kind of romantic, right, ladies? Yeah. So my wife and I will go to our grocery store and we'll do our week's shopping. And then we come home and we batch cook. I grill the meat. She chops some veggies, does a little oven work. I'll do some rice, whatever have you. We split the duties because that's what married couples do, by the way. With Meal Prep Sunday, it's something that we do, and that we create these things called Buddha bowls. And if you look online, type in Buddha, as you would expect to spell it, bowls. And basically, it's a container with a little bit of rice and a little bit of veggies and a little bit of meat, chopped up, and a little bit of greens. And it looks so pretty. And it's all, quantity made. You put it in all these containers and you put them in the fridge. And oh, look, you don't have to go out for lunch. And that's a financial investment where you don't have to drop $10 to go to get a burger and fries at a local burger joint.
Like 15 episodes ago.
Exactly. So, this is an investment in my dietary tract and also time spent with my beautiful wife. That's investing in our marriage. The other thing that I do is mainly for a professional standpoint. And in an 8-hour day where I'm lucky to have a job where I'm a cerebral professional. I use my mind to do IT related stuff. I need time to process. I cannot simply flip a switch like Homer Simpson in the Springfield nuclear factory and do the work. You got to get into tier 2, tier 3 deep level work to do this. And I need time to process. So a couple times when the schedule permits, I schedule half-hour meetings with myself.
Nice.
And I get the expletive word out of the office and I go somewhere where I'm not distracted or I'm not around people. I seek that solitude because I often look out a window and I don't do anything. Stay tuned, folks. We're going to be talking about boredom in a future episode of the Bellingham podcast. You heard it here first. Sometimes boredom can be a good thing, but it also lets the reserve cycles in your brain process what you've just gone through in that meeting. by having that time to yourself to be able to consider, and also that half-hour meeting could also mean going for a walk.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Is walking meetings is kind of a routine that I've gotten into.
Yes, and walking meetings to go from one, not to tchotchkes, like an office space or something.
Or go just like a walking meeting for the sake of walking. No, like legitimately, like I'll do a collaboration or I'll do a consult with somebody, and we're walking, from here to there between, whatever our offices or whatnot. There is a value to it.
Absolutely. And when the weather gets better in the springtime around Bellingham, then that will be really important. But, when it gets to be 30-some degrees, then maybe not. So those are some ways that, to set up meetings with yourself, whether it's a 15-minute walk to just walk around the building, walk out to your car or back, you get some steps in, you get to think about things, and you don't be looking at your screen.
Right.
That's a big thing. So those are the ways that I'm investing in myself physically, internally, financially, and mentally and professionally.
You left one off, though.
What's that?
The biggest investment is to your ears, because you might be listening to us on KMRE 102.3 FM.
Low power.
Community radio here in the heart or in your noggin of City of Subdued Excitement.
That's right. And we applaud KMRE for continuing to host our show Thursdays at 9 a.m. and Saturdays around 1:30 p.m.
Which there might be a new production schedule in the future, but
stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
I wanted to say that for that. Anyway, coming up, in Bellingham, we have a lot of opportunities for social investments.
Yeah. So this is the hashtag local bit of our show.
Yeah. And so one way that you can invest in the relationships that you have with people in town, where you can look at them in person. There's a whole lot of new eating establishments, drinkeries, houses of caffeine, and other places to get a sweat coming up around Bellingham.
So here's what's cool is, so Chris and I, even though we're called the Bellingham Podcast, there's only so many times we can say the same places, because if you've listened to us for 108 episodes, you kind of know where Chris and I frequent. So what's really cool is, because our City of Subdued Excitement is growing, we have the new park coming online, we've got all these new businesses and stuff, our community has started to change. We've got some new blood coming into our community.
Yes, and the face is changing a little bit from establishments, and now it's turning into a little bit more of the hip place to be, especially in the evenings. And, while we are always talking about getting outside and getting that, get on the mountain and go on the trails for some hikes, sometimes you want to get around
town.
Exactly.
And so this next bit, we're going to be talking about finding the new familiar place here in Bellingham.
We all have our familiar coffee shops and our familiar restaurants that we always go to. Well, how about trying something different coming up in the next few months? AJ.
Yeah. So one that I've noticed, because there's one near our neck of the woods, Mix Restaurant.
Yes.
So there's a second place in our neck of the woods in Barclay Village.
Downtown on Holly Street, across the street from Bayou on the Bay, and where that nice little scepter sculpture thing is, like Goat Mountain Pizza, and
isn't it a cocktail stick?
Black Sheep. Is that what it is?
I think it's, like what, on a martini? I think that's a cocktail stick, isn't it?
Okay, that's great. I thought it was just like a scepter, but that shows you how much I know about art.
Okay, well, hashtag Bham Podcasters. Let Chris and I know, because I always assume, because that's kind of like the place to go and get your drinks. It's kind of the downtown area. I always thought that was a cocktail stick.
Okay, well, that's cool. But anyway, in that zone across the street, there's a restaurant called Mix. And they have these wonderful, healthy bowls for you to eat. Downtown was the first location. Now Barclay Village has one available for the northeastern part of the town. Yeah.
If you're in that health vein, like we talked about, Robex does bowls.
Yes.
You had your acai bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is what their I would say bread and butter is, but I guess that's a bad analogy.
That could be their
oats and blueberries,
gluten-free and pasture-fed butter.
Yeah. So that's what Mix is, and like I said, this is the second one that's coming online.
Yes.
Another one again coming from south in Fairhaven, the Filling Station.
Yep.
The burger joint of choice, if you ask me. Filling Station's getting a second one over in Sunnyland.
Well, Sunnyland over in the Trader Joe's zone.
Yeah. North Sunnyland.
A requiem for Lee's Drive-In for the many years that they were.
Chicken Lee's, yeah.
Yes, and that corner restaurant had undergone a change, and the second location to get your burger on.
Yeah.
Hey, Boomers and Bobs, still love you.
Yeah, totally.
And it's great to have just another opportunity to be able to have some meat and potatoes.
I just love the car-esque garage scene that is the Filling Station.
What is your burger of choice?
I think it's called the Wrangler. It's the one with all the bacon.
Mustang.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Anyway,
Anyway.
so, and then we got another one at the Barking Monstrosity. See, now that actually, as you were talking about the martini stick, or
Yeah.
that's actually the Bellingham Regal Cinemas movie theaterplex. I call it the Barking Monstrosity.
I like that
So
better.
anyway, got a new place coming in there as well.
Yeah. So that's another bowl place, Vitality Bowls. I don't know much about this one.
It's a franchise. They have a number of locations in many states.
Oh, okay.
However, opportunity with a high traffic environment to get something healthy as opposed to what you might find within the monstrosity to eat.
Right. Yeah.
Can you hear me, folks?
No.
We're a healthy bunch around here. The listeners of these of the Bellingham podcast are absolutely beautiful. They are so healthy. They are so positive, and they are so productive with their lives and wise in their spending. They don't drop $12 on a small popcorn for their movie experience.
Valid. Okay, so let's move from food to drank or
Yes.
drank,
Yes.
depending on which one of us is talking about this. Now, you just told me about this literally before we lit the mics. Herb's Cider, or is it Herb's Cider?
I'm going to go with Herb's Cider.
Okay.
It's a tasting room downtown on Bay Street, right in the heart of everything.
By the cocktail stick.
There you go. Owned by a fella by the name of Tim Alexander. And Tim Alexander, if you are a fan of the 90s music genre, was a drummer for a band called Primus. Yeah, buddy. I'm a fan. But anyway, locally created drank in cider, one of a number of cider places going on. But that's coming online soon. Also in the downtown area on Cornwall, there are two venues to wetten your whistle. You take the first one.
Okay, so I'm gonna do Blue Koi Coffee Lab, which if you're an old timer of Bellingham, you might remember the old Koi Cafe. Totally different.
Yep.
So, but what this one is, which is kind of cool, customers will give input on what to keep and what to get rid of on the menu.
Oh yeah, no, on their website.
Yeah.
As they're talking about it, did a little bit of research. They want to get the customers involved in the experience. And I'm thinking, how cool is that?
Yeah.
And another, here's a place that you want to go where everybody knows your name. Well, you want to go where you can find whatever kind of drink you want.
What I find interesting about this is I recently saw like a video or a survey, and it's like that other coffee joint that was originally founded here in Seattle area.
That one.
They have that secret, what's it called? Secret menu.
Yeah.
And apparently the baristas always hate it when like customers come in to do that, which I understand. Like if you're totally backed up and you know you don't want somebody totally messing up the workflow, I get that. But I find it interesting that this coffee shop's kind of taking the model of, well, let's just have a secret menu, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely. So coming online soon, stay tuned. Blue Koi Coffee Lab on Cornwall Avenue. Also on Cornwall Avenue is a Chuckanut Bay Distillery. Yeah. Local ingredients. They're brewing their own drink.
Oh, distilling their own drink.
Yeah, that is correct. Did I say brewing?
You said brewing.
So many beer places, it's kind of like how you make equals brew. I meant distill.
Yes.
Their own drink coming up nearby in Cornwall. It'll be a very glassy building, I believe, from what I saw on the pictures. And then for those of you that don't want to have caffeine nor alcohol ingested in your system, we got a juice place for you.
BLJ, the Big Love Juice. I don't know if they call it BLJ, but I just like it.
Oh yeah, Big Love Juice.
You may commission Chris Powell at the extension. No,
that's
kidding.
right.
No, so Big Love Juice. This is going to go on State Street in the Herald Building. Now, this is it on the first floor of the Herald Building? I think?
I would imagine so. Otherwise, there'll be directions to where it's located.
Right. So anyway, they're doing cold press and hot steam juices, smoothies, and you were telling me they have 3-day bundles, and I wasn't too clear on this one.
Sure. So in case of you, for those of you that may want to go on a bit of a juice cleanse or a detox diet involving where you just drink in lieu of eating for a set amount of time, they have what are called 3-day bundles. You can see them on their website. I saw a couple ranges in price from about $45 to $50, and you get a supply of drinks that can last you for these 3 days. So in lieu of getting an armful of bottles of a type of beverage that you would have during a cleanse, you might be able to find all your ingredients in one shot.
Now, is that like, will you go to the place and get it, or do like prefab it, like, and then you take it home? Like, that's the part I wasn't too clear on.
We have, for all of these establishments, we have links to their websites in the show notes. drink. And so I'm probably not an expert in the 3-day bundles, but I think we should probably give it
it was interesting when you put it in the show notes because I was like, how does that work? I wonder, like, if you go there and it's just like, do you have a tab? You
might, but you may be able to pre-order a particular kind of juice bundle and then take it home with you, and there you go. Yeah. Now, after you've ingested all the stuff and eaten all the stuff of the new establishments, you got to work it off.
You got to work it out.
So there's a couple places coming soon, coming soon to Bellingham. Now, everyone's been talking about what's going on down on the waterfront.
Yes.
And the Granary building, which is that windowed building, by the acid ball.
Yeah.
Top floor or third floor. I don't know how many. Third floor. Bellingham Yoga Collective.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
You go to we got a link in the show note for
drink.
There you go. And oh my, what a venue.
Yeah.
And what a location. So,
if you're not a yoga person, if you look at what they've got, you want to be a yoga person because yoga, big windows, the bay, need I say more? Like that's going to be killer.
And while I talk about the gym and throwing weights around and other things like that, that's great. But I would say yoga is cross-platform as far as age demographics. Everyone can do stretching. For all ages. But there was another one that piqued my interest as I was looking around, like what's going on around town that's unique. This combines fitness and music in a way that really speaks to me.
Right. So it's very down-tempo. It's very ambient.
Yeah,
and
that's
then you
it.
do Tai Chi-like moves in yoga. Right, Chris?
No, not this kind. It's called metal yoga. Exactly. No. So Laura Orso has a yoga business here in town. Got a website that we got you linked to. The Shakedown is a bar on State Street.
Yeah, next to Ruckus.
Yes, and they have usually loud music playing there, but depending on when you hear this, Sunday, January 27th at 6 p.m., $10 will get you into the door where they will be blasting heavy metal music, thank you very much, while you can do your downward dog. I got your warrior pose. It's got Judas Priest around it. So anyway, I'm very intrigued by what Laura is doing. There's actually, if you do a little bit of searching on metal yoga, there's a video clip from Kink 5 News in Seattle.
Yeah.
There may be a metal yoga thing coming in March to Seattle, but yeah.
So really what you're saying is it's Chris tested, Metallica approved.
Absolutely. That's right. So anyway, get your headbanger on with your stretching.
I'm curious on how that works. Like, I'm curious. That's interesting.
It would be interesting to record a show from there.
What? I can't hear you over
What's
that. Is that Van Halen? Anyway.
I'm in Shavasana right now. Leave me alone. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Oh, wait. We got breaking news.
Breaking?
Or not so breaking news.
Sure.
A shameless plug for the Bellingham podcast.
Oh, yeah. So Bellingham Alive on page 25, 6, 7, 8, round in there.
Page 28.
28, okay.
I bought a copy for my mom.
Hi, Chris's mom. Yeah, so and we've had a few listeners actually mention that they saw us in our names in the Bellingham Alive, thanks to the editorial staff for putting us on the top of their Fave 5 for podcasts.
Yes, and so should you not be in the Bellingham area or in this region, and for those of you worldwide, we got a link in our show notes, drink to be able to view the article that highlights the Bellingham podcast. Thank you once again, Bellingham Alive, for giving us the nice publicity. We appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Now it's time to stick a fork in this show.
So that wraps it up for this very metal edition of the Bellingham podcast. Yeah. Thank you again so much for listening to us, continuously rating us, reviewing us, wherever you like to get your podcast. Remember, if you are in the Bellingham area, you might be listening to us on the good old terrestrial radio of KMRE 102.3 FM.
Low power.
Community radio here in the heart of the city of subdued excitement. On that note, remember, goodness will return dividends perpetually. And I'm AJ Barcet.
And stay caffeinated, y'all. I'm Chris Powell. Thanks again for joining us on the Bellingham podcast.
Metal and yoga. I still cannot get my head around that one.
It's like chocolate and peanut butter. It's like cookies and cream.
No,
it's like
not.
Abbott and Costello.
Okay, maybe the latter.